Hi, this is Corella at CorellaFicklin.com and welcome, WYLCOME, WelcomeNetwork.com. And we're continuing talking about the history of the English language. And in the last video, I think it's video 5 on the history of the English language through irregular verbs and through looking at parts of the body, language for parts of the body. Although I haven't looked at language for parts of the body yet. All I've looked at is irregular verbs. I finished looking at those verbs which entered into the language prior to, 900, 1000, right? And what I thought I would do is go back a little bit, not as far as verbs are concerned, but to give you other kinds of words that entered into the language under particular headings. Now, I have all this information in books on, it's called a treasure trove of information. It's about body language in English, looking at different parts of the body and looking at the different meanings, because these are some of the oldest words in the English language when you're talking about the eye, the nose, the lips, the teeth, some of the oldest words. And in the back, I have all this information about the history of the English language. But I think what I'm going to do is take all that information, put it in a different folder, so that you can, it'll still be on the back of the history of English, the body language, but also I'll put it in a different folder. So if you just want to look at certain aspects, and it'll be called the history of the English language, certain aspects or particular aspects, okay? Let me give you some of the aspects that I'm talking about. And this is all before, let's say, 1066, before the Norman invasion. It's during the time when English is basically a Germanic language versus Germanic language, but with heavy influence from Latin. But some of the first borrowings that English had, some of the first influences that English has was from Latin. But this is not through French or not as a result of the Renaissance, but as a result of Christianization. That is, missionaries went over to England from the continent in order to Christianize. And we're talking about, let's say, about the 6th century. Yeah, 6th, maybe 7th century. All right, so the first Germanic wave has already happened, and there's intermittent wars and everything. But different dialects of the English language have already formed, okay, have already established themselves. So let me give you some of the words that today we recognize. Altar, angel, ark, bishop, hymn, epistle, mass, offer, organ, psalm, pope, relic, temple, antichrist, apostle, idol, prime, prophet, Sabbath, and synagogue. Now, let me give you some words that came into the English language. They're from Latin, but they're not necessarily religious words. Purple, now of course, because purple is, for a century, has been the color for royalty. Oyster, lobster, to cook, box, savory, master, school, the very word Latin itself. I'm skipping around, that's why I'm hesitating here and there. Giant, talent, accent, paper, cucumber, because a lot of these are from different plants that were introduced into England. Pepper, plant, copper, dish, fork, fiddle, pit, plaster, to spend, to stop, and the adjectives crisp and short. All right, now also I think it's important that you'll see how some of these are Old English, and it's very interesting because, for example, Monday. Now, it's not spelled the way we spell it, and I can't spend the time spelling it, but I wanted to just give you the meaning of what these words were. Monday meant the day of the moon. Tuesday, the day of the god Tig. Wednesday was the day of the god Wooden, W-O-D-E-N. And if you look at how Wednesday used to be spelled, it's spelled beginning with the god's name, W-O-D-N-E-S-D-A-E-G. And that was day, D-A-E-G. And it's the A-E that's together. Okay. Let me see. Thursday was day of the god Thunor, T-H-U-N-O-R. Friday, day of the goddess Frigan, Friga, F-R-I-G-A. Saturday, that was the day of the Roman god Saturn. And Sunday, the day of the sun. Okay? And if you go to some of the Germanic-speaking countries, I know when I was in Belgium, I saw Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it looked closer to the way it used to be written than the way it's written now in modern English. That's why I recognized it, but like I said, it looked like English on steroids. Okay, let me give you some other words. For example, if you come in and you look at this certain aspects of the English language, you will see some of the oldest words of the English language and how little have they changed as far as Old English versus modern English. For example, the word man. In Old English, it was spelled M-A-N-N. In modern English, it's spelled M-A-N. Wife. In Old English, it was spelled W-I-F. In modern English, it's W-I-F-E. Now, I don't know how it was pronounced, I'll be frank with you. Old English, child, C-I-L-D. In modern English, C-H-I-L-D. And you'll see the word house. Almost, these are words that haven't changed that much from Old English. House, meat, but meat meaning food. Because sometimes meat can mean not just flesh, but the general category food. Grass, leaf, L-E-A-F, spelled just the same. The spelling didn't change. Fowl, being bird, F-O-W-L. The verb eat, the verb drink, the verb sleep. Okay, now, then you see terms and words from the Old Norse period, when the English were when English had been invaded by the Scandinavians, and the language they spoke was Old Norse, and how Old Norse began to replace certain Anglo-Saxon words. And the thing that's very interesting about Old Norse, and that's why Old Norse had much more of an influence on English than French did, even though French has a lot more vocabulary, is that Old Norse was able to contribute words to the closed class words category, to that category of words that very, very, very rarely are words borrowed from that category. I'm running out of time. Okay, so let me just give you the Old Norse words, and these are pronouns and one of the most important verbs. Okay, so the pronouns would be they, subject pronoun, their, possessive pronoun, them, object pronoun, and for the verb to be, remember it's I am, he, she, it is, and from the Norse came are, A-R-E. I'm out of time. So we'll continue. This is Corella Ficklin, CorellaFicklin.com.